Hey everyone, welcome back to another Deck Tech with too many cards and dice. Tonight we're going to be addressing one of my favorite decks, Mogis, God of Slaughter, or God of Laughter, depending on how you pronounce that word. Either way, it is in Rakdos colors, black, red, the perfect colors for causing trouble, even if you don't win. It's another one of my decks built around a Theros god because, again, many many people have issues running anything that reads Exile Enchantment unless it's Farewell, and then they don't choose that option because they don't want to kill their own stuff. Anyhow, excuse me, this 7/5 just hangs out and does nothing until Devotion reaches 7. But the important part, the reason I chose him, is his other ability. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, he deals 2 damage to that player unless they sack a creature. And if you can land this card early, they don't have any creatures to sack, so they will take the damage. And as you will see, if the stars align and you get the right cards at the right time, this 2 damage every turn will be what kills your opponent. Regardless, I called him the God of Slaughter, and this is why, or the God of Laughter, because of last laugh. All right. A pet card, yes. A card that can backfire, yes. But so worth it. Enchantment. Whenever a permanent other than last laugh is put into the graveyard from play, deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. And when no creatures are in play, sacrifice last laugh. Very often, your commander will be a creature due to other enchantments, and he's indestructible. So last laugh just sticks around, and it doesn't matter what permanent, be it a land, be it creature, artifact, enchantment, anything. Ooh, Planeswalker. If it goes away to the graveyard, everyone takes damage, and then the creatures start dying, and it's a lovely, lovely vicious cycle. Even if you don't win off of it, you ruin a lot of people's days. Repay in kind. As it turns out, when your deck runs many, many ways to damage everyone for every aspect of playing Magic, playing lands, drawing cards, playing creatures, killing creatures, playing spells, not playing spells, your life total quickly hits single digits as everyone guns for you. And Repay in Kind may not win you the game, but for 7 mana, presuming you last that long, you can certainly shorten it for everyone else. Even if you do not have the lowest life total, but honestly, I have never seen this played where I do not have the lowest life total, or the caster does not have the lowest life total. Anyhow, if you're running Mogis and you have this card, add Bloodchief Ascension. For the low, low price of black, you get an enchantment. Beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life, which they lose, courtesy of your commander, you may put a quest counter on Bloodchief Ascension. And then, whenever a card's put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if Bloodchief Ascension has 3 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 2 life, and then you gain 2, which is really helpful in this deck. So there are times where you end up just killing people through the combination of Bloodchief Ascension and your commander. Roiling Vortex, another enchantment. Beginning of each player's upkeep, they take a point of damage. And then whenever they cast a spell, if no mana is spent, they take 5 damage. And in a pinch, you can prevent life gain. In most games I encounter, the free spells are very, very rare, but everybody has an upkeep. So I'm dealing damage, preventing life gain. Ancient Runes. It is amazing how many people hoard treasure tokens for that great big turn once I draw that great big X spell. This makes some question that strategy. And for the folks who run the artifact lands, just because it provides 2 colors, it gets them too. And it's just a fun way to deal damage. Incidental chip damage, I think it's called. Underworld Dreams. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they take 1 damage. The dangerous part of this is that Devotionaire goes a long way towards turning your guy into a creature, and it's really easy to exile creatures. So you got to keep that in mind, but even without wheels, just chipping away at folks for 1 damage at a time matters. Spell Shock. Whenever any player, this includes you, successfully casts any spell, they take 2 damage. Ooh, it's an odd, look at that, it's odd. You know what that means? You could play this in Obosh and giggle. Sulfuric Vortex, another Obosh popular card there. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, they take 2 damage. And then they cannot gain life, nor can you. No Mercy. If a creature successfully deals damage to you, destroy it. Burning Earth. Whenever a player taps a non-basic land for mana, they take a point of damage. Mana Barbs. Whenever they tap any land, Mana Barbs deals 1 damage to that player. Now look, Mana Barbs and Burning Earth hit you as well. But again, ideally, you're dealing more damage to your opponents than you are to yourself. Erebos. Indestructible 5/7 god. Your opponents cannot gain life, and then you can pay life to draw cards. I don't often do that because I'm losing life almost as fast as my opponents. But if you get him active, he is a great blocker. And this is his Agent of Erebos. Constellation. If you haven't figured it out by now, this is an enchantment-heavy deck. And there are variations of this deck that I've built in the past that are super enchantment heavy. This one not so much. But anyways, Constellation. Whenever Agent of Erebos or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. It's quite possible with this card to keep many players, but especially the one guy whose commander needs the graveyard. Looking at you, Muldrotha, among others, out of the game because you just remove their nonsense. Stranglehold. As it turns out, every blue-green deck I've played against just try to chain extra turns. So do Tivit decks in many cases with the Time Sieve, I think it's called. Anyhow, your opponents cannot search libraries, and your opponents cannot take extra turns, basically. They have to skip those extra turns. A lovely, lovely card for disruption. Spreading Plague. All right. This, it turns out, is a pricey card. Whenever a creature comes into play, destroy all other creatures that share a color with it. They cannot be regenerated. So you end up doing collateral damage. Ooh, look, I play this black-red creature. And then suddenly the board is devoid of black-red creatures. It really, really shuts your opponents down, especially if they're monocolored. So in that case, maybe it's a dick move, but it is what it is. I mean, they should be playing some type of enchantment removal now, shouldn't they? Polluted Bonds. Whenever a land comes into play under an opponent's control, they lose 2 life and I gain 2 life. Good. Painful Quandary. Honestly, I prefer the original art, but I don't know what happened to my copy. I may have traded it off years ago. Regardless, it's been reprinted, and here you have it. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, they either lose 5 life or they discard. It's their choice. Very, very polite there. But it adds up. Note that many players get very upset at being forced to discard. Kind of like being forced to mill. Exquisite Blood. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. And yes, this is part of a 2-card infinite combo. And yes, Foundations has a creature version of this that is probably at least $20. Exquisite Blood is in here on its own. I'm not trying to combo off with it. As you can see, the next card is not Sanguine Bond. This is in here because A, it makes people hold up counter magic. If you land this, they're like, oh, he's going to try to combo out. And they'll sit on their counter magic. Meanwhile, you're gaining little bits and pieces of life from all of your painful enchantments. It's really quite a lovely card. Or it draws in the limited targeted enchantment, hate that people run. Anyway, it's just a great, wonderful card, and if you own one, you should add it. Wound Reflection, not another enchantment from Shadow Dark, I believe. The end of each turn, each opponent loses life equal to the life he or she lost this turn. It can add up quick. I know this has been reprinted at least once because I've seen it with different art and a different set symbol. A very fun card. All right, Ankh of Mishra. I got to tell you, for 2 mana, this is my favorite card to play off a Soul Ring on the first turn. Land, Soul Ring, Ankh of Mishra sets the tone for the deck, sets the tone for the game, gets people cussing at you early. Each time a player puts a land into play, they take 2 damage. Yeah, you do it too, but it's hysterical, especially when your opponents rely on fetch lands to do anything. And when somebody is running a Zusa and trying to play multiple lands, and then they can't do anything because they don't want to die. Anyhow, a great card. Pick one up. And or pick up its Zozu the Punisher, which is Ankh of Mishra on legs. It's a 2/2 that deals the same thing. Magus of the Moon. Let's reduce those non-basic lands. Turn them into mountains. Slow your opponents down because too many players think Commander is the non-basic land format. This helps prove them wrong. And ideally, Blood Moon would be in this deck. It is not. And honestly, I really don't know why. I own one. Maybe I was trying to be nice. Anyways, Magus of the Moon, Sun-Spined Lynx. I like this card. Players cannot gain life, damage cannot be prevented, and when he enters, he deals damage to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. Look, again, make people reconsider running all those non-basic lands. And since you're running these cards, you can build your deck accordingly. Price of Glory. Slow all those people that like to play stuff on other people's turns down. Whenever a player taps a land for mana during another player's turn, destroy that land. I do not consider this mass land destruction at all. It's not even targeted land destruction. That said, it can make people very sad, and that's okay, especially them blue players trying to counter your stuff. Krenko's Buzz Crusher. Flying Trample 4/4. When he enters the battlefield, you get to blow up, destroy up to 1 non-basic land that player controls. And then they get to search their library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield. Which is awesome, especially with Zozu or Ankh of Mishra in play. But anyhow, you're killing those problematic lands. You're not necessarily cutting off a color, although you could, and objectively should if you can. But you're killing those problematic lands. The Gaia's Cradles, the Cabal Coffers, sometimes the Rogue's Passage. I mean, it depends on what you're facing, but kill those non-basics. From the Ashes, kill all the non-basics. Destroy all non-basic lands. For each land destroyed that way, its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield. Then they shuffle. And then if Ankh of Mishra is in play, they take a world of damage. Again, lots of people run lots of non-basics. And I have encountered even 2-color decks that run maybe 10 basic lands, which I think is ridiculous. But anyhow, this makes people reconsider their deck building choices. Run it. Volcanic Offering. This card may end up in another deck, but for now, it's in here. It's a pet card. Lovely art, lovely casting cost of 5 for an instant. you end up killing 2 non-basic lands and probably killing 2 creatures. And in some circumstances, you force an opponent to pick their own non-basic land or own creature to zap. And in those cases, it's really, really funny. Jokel Haups. Bury all artifacts, creatures, and lands. In modern talk, bury means destroy, cannot be regenerated. You noticed all of the enchantments early on, the enchantments that deal damage. This helps seal the deal. Don't play it early. Play it when you've got some damage dealers. Technically, this would also ignore the planeswalkers because it was printed before they came into existence. So other versions of this deck might run several planeswalkers, and that's completely viable as well. But because of Jokel Haups and its friend here, Obliterate, which is a more expensive, cannot be countered version of Jokel Haups, this is considered an optimized deck with the new bracket system. And you've already seen the rest of it, and there ain't nothing, or there's very little that you could call optimized beyond a vague theme and color matching with this deck. Yet here we have it because of the mass land denial. But again, play Jokel Haups, play Obliterate when you can seal the deal. I don't consider, where is it? From the Ashes much of an issue because it's only hammering the non-basics. If that hurts an opponent that badly, they need to reconsider their decks and their deck construction. Dingus Egg. Since you're blowing up lands, make them take damage from it. This is in here just to kind of lean into the land killing. Darkness. A black fog. Vandal Blast. You know it, you love it. Overload it. Kill all the artifacts. Imp's Mischief. It has been reprinted at least once, so it is no longer a $20 card. Change the target of target spell with a single target. And then, yeah, you lose life, but that's okay. You are screwing up somebody else's play. And honestly, a really solid play for this is to hit somebody else's draw spell, and then you pay life, and then you draw all the cards. Last one standing. How's this for a sweeper? A little chaotic. If it hits your commander, it doesn't matter because he's indestructible. And then maybe, just maybe, if the creature that survives is an opponent's creature, you can maybe convince them that that was your plan all along and they should be your ally and take out those other people first. That probably won't work, but you should at least try it. Sudden Spoiling. If you're running black and playing commander, highly recommend this card in the 99. Not so much for the 0-2 part or the split second part, but for the lose all abilities until end of turn part. The big ability you want to get rid of is Indestructible. Although Hexproof is another good one to zap. Or Shroud, if anybody plays Shroud creatures anymore. But anyhow, you get the gist. Highly recommend this card. Chaos Warp, it's red. Of course Chaos Warp is probably going to be in here. And it's just get rid of a thing and a new thing appears. Hero's Downfall with good art. Because sometimes planeswalkers need to be destroyed too. Bolt Ben, this will protect anything, really. It changes targets. You are probably going to pay full price for this because very few of the creatures in here are going to cost 4 or more. So that's a great reason to consider pulling this out for something else. But being able to redirect is huge. Rakdos Charm, would it be a Rakdos deck without this? I mean, all 3 choices are solid, and at instant speed, they're super solid. Bedevil, pretty groovy art. Destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker at instant speed for red, black, black. Aether Snap, counters and permanents and tokens. All right. this can be more useful than it sounds, especially with all of the precons that keep getting released that focus on +1/+1 counters and all the token creatures and everything else. This is a mean surprise to play on people. Hour of Devastation. Again, you're getting rid of Indestructible, and then you're sweeping the board. And if your commander dies, oh well, bring him back next turn. Massacre Worm, same idea. You're doing a small sweeper there. Dread, even if you sweep him away by accident, he shuffles and you can draw him again later. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, destroy it. Seize the Spotlight. I picked this up. I have yet to actually play it. But it looks like a lot of fun. And in addition, I don't see how it can possibly go wrong. Each opponent chooses Fame or Fortune. Each player who chose Fame, I gain control of one of their critters until end of turn. And then it gets haste and untaps. And then everyone who chooses Fortune, I get a card and a treasure token. There's no possible way I can lose unless they have no creatures and then they choose Fame. Then I would lose. But whatever. Phyrexian Arena, another enchantment. Draw cards, lose life. Read the Bones, some more draw here for life. Torpor Orb is not as strong as Ankh of Mishra off a first turn Sol Ring, but it's pretty close. I mean, creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. I have encountered way too many decks over the years. They don't run instants, I guess because the players are foolish. They rely on creatures entering to do things, and then they get very upset when you run out an early Torpor Orb, and they make comments like, "Oh, now I can't play Magic," and other such nonsense. Instants exist, run them. Loyal Subordinate. I mean, he's got Lieutenant. I will have control of my commander, and it's just bonus life loss. Another newer card here, Scytheclaw Raptor. Whenever any player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, they take 4 damage. So again, this is aimed both at the blue players as well as those folks who like to say, "I play a tutor at the end of your turn." Scab Clan Berserker. Haste, Renown 1. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, if this creature is renowned, they take 2 damage. Hopefully you get this early on. Otherwise you have to work to slip it through someone's defenses. The haste helps immensely. And then the 2 damage just picks. Rampaging Ferocidon is the same idea. Menace, players cannot gain life. But in this case, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, they take 1 point of damage. Or the controller does. Magnetic Mine. Whenever any artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, Magnetic Mine deals 2 damage to that artifact's controller. People who play too many treasures really do not like this card. Or I should say, people who rely on treasures to do things really don't like this card. But it is amazing how many incidental artifacts people like to sacrifice for various reasons, if only to block your giant creature. And then they take extra damage. Phyrexian Scriptures, admittedly, is another card that I've yet to actually get into play. But it is in here mostly for items 2 and 3. I could care less about making some guy who's going to survive, although it plays nice with item 2. But destroying all non-artifact creatures and exiling all cards from all opponents' graveyards, huge. And it's an enchantment. Indulgent Tormentor is in here to draw cards. And for sacrifices and life loss. It's a great card. Archfiend of Depravity. He can keep people under control. Gray Merchant, it's a black deck. I'd like to win or at least gain enough life to survive. Excuse me. Lots of black permanents in this deck. If I were running 3 or more colors, I would not add Gray Merchant because I wouldn't be able to guarantee a decent amount of black mana to make it worthwhile, in my opinion. Kokoshu, the Evening Star, hailing from the Kamigawa block of yesteryear. When he's put into a graveyard from play, each opponent loses 5 life, and then I gain all that life. This is just a potent card in any black deck, quite frankly. If you can synergize, and then, with sacrificing, if you can synergize with lots of reanimation or bounce, it's even more powerful. But even on its own, I mean, that is often, it's not just that you gain 15 and your opponents lose 15. I mean, it's like a 30-point life swing is one way to look at it. Huge card. Archfiend of Despair, I mean, he costs 8, but he's another Wound Reflection. He could probably go because of his cost and become another enchantment. But until then, I mean, your opponents cannot gain life, flying 6/6, and then each opponent loses life equal to the life they've lost this turn. What a great card. All right, Mana and Mana Rocks. And this is where another spot you will see it is not an optimized deck. Soul Ring, yeah, we expected it. Arcane Signet, expected it. Rakdos Signet, yeah. Talisman of Indulgence, no surprise. That's it for rocks. That's it really for ramp. Command Tower, Rakdos Carnarium, Tainted Peak, Temple of Malice, Sulphurous Springs, Dragon Skull Summit, Blood Crypt, Luxury Suite, because I got really lucky on that pool. Terramorphic Expanse, Evolving Wilds with pretty decent art. Strip Mine, Bajuka Bog, Swamps and Mountains. Very pretty mountains. I think what I tried to do with this deck is to go with all old borders. Didn't quite work out, but we got several. So pretty. I like the way the old borders worked. That's a fancy one with the shiny DCI there. Anyhow, I think that's a Euroland. Look at me being all fancy with my basics. Do I have any more Eurolands jammed in here? Nope. I think that might be the only one, folks. Not that it matters. The point being, everybody should consider having some type of Rakdos group slug deck. Recently, the Duskmourn decks, I mean, one of the precons was a Rakdos deck. In fact, Mogis was reprinted in it. And it's a great deck. I've played against it unaltered. It's a fun deck. It's got a couple cards I need to pick up, maybe to put in here. Regardless, even if you lose, you end up speeding the game up immensely. In the case of Mogis, he can be mean, but it just feels so good to win by hammering on everybody. I don't know. So anyhow, folks, like and subscribe, or at the very least, make comments. Tell me what you think. Share your Mogis God of Slaughter decks. That's all. Have a good night.